watch the 6 Types to Avoid by Dr. Umar Johnson on YouTube. Yep, 6 Types to Avoid, Dr. Umar Johnson on YouTube. And they say parents and their teens should watch it, plus The Dark Side and The Dark Side Revisited. That is also by Umar Johnson on YouTube, yeah? So just Google in there, Umar Johnson on YouTube with your teens, and hopefully there's some light will come through. All right, now we're joined today for the latter part of our show by the sister in Shawna, who has, I'm going to say, an interesting view around what is happening with the perpetrators who perpetrated back in the 60s and the 70s, maybe only then, or right through to the 21st century, and now their crimes are catching them up, basically, and they're being given sentences, they're being investigated and whatever. And Shawna, now, I do not want to quote you direct, but what I was picking up the vibe was that you're feeling that these are people now in their 70s and their 80s, they're being persecuted under 2013 morality and how we're seeing it, whereas back in the day, and this is where I've got to be careful because you may not be saying this, but back in the day, their crimes may not have been seen as heinous as we see them today.
Oh, that's exactly right, Culture. That's what I'm saying. There's so many crimes. We've all been in school, I suspect, with teachers, if you're of a certain age, with teachers who went out with a pupil or two.
Yes. And
perhaps those teachers would be prosecuted as well as the infamous ones like...
Well, to be honest with you, sis, right, in this day and age, and that's the whole thing about abuse of power, of your power in terms of the school. That is a dismissible, sackable, and an illegal offence back in the day as it is today. And I know that in terms of the organisation that I work for.
I would imagine that was true, but very few of them were ever prosecuted, and it was quite open, the relationships.
I would really challenge that, but go on.
No, it's happened quite a few times in my school. Some of the teachers are very, quite close in age to the 17-year-olds or 15, 16, 17-year-olds. They may have themselves been in their early 20s.
It didn't go, I think, in fact, it wasn't about... if you had a teacher with a 15-year-old, where obviously that would be illegal and seen as statutory rape.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though you had arguments like you said, the 20-year-old teacher with the 18-year-old student, it was still a sackable offence. Now, I hear what you're saying.
A blind eye was put.
Yeah.
In many cases.
And I don't have And what I'm going to just say is that in terms of paedophile behaviours, which is what these so-called past celebrities and whoever else is are now being charged with, these predominantly weren't with consenting 18-year-olds.
Oh, I'm not sure. I've not read into the case, so I don't know how consensual the interaction between the adult and the child was. But yes, wrong is wrong, but the morality in the 60s and the morality in 2013 is completely different.
All right, so the question I put to you is that whether we're talking 1960 or we're talking 2013, the rape and abuse of a 5 or 6-year-old child, right, where is the morality stakes different there?
That's not comparable. With a young adult and an innocent child.
Right, okay. So you could see, this is why I said I wanted just to unpick this slightly, because what we were talking about earlier was the paedophiles of. What I'm hearing from you is that you're saying that, because don't forget, these so-called celebrities are not being charged. I mean, some are about 15 and 16, which again is statutory rape, and like you said, they may have turned a blind eye. The majority are children younger. We're talking children, not teenagers.
I'm not talking people like Jimmy Savile or whatever. I've not read into the cases that were talked about this week and people who were being charged and prosecuted. I'm not talking Because I don't know the details of those cases.
All right, but do you need to know the details to know?
Perhaps so, because rock stars, I'm sure that, you know, quite a famous rock stars who had, what do they call it, the young people hanging around, groupies. Are they going to be prosecuted? Where is this going to stop? Or is it just going to be television people? Or will it be teachers, people, well, priests definitely should, teachers definitely should, because they were in a position of power. But there were Boy Scouts and whatnot.
But let me challenge you though then, that rock star, are they not also in a position of power? Right, when they've got little 14, 12-year-old groupies or whatever performing sexual favours, we're not going to go into any detail on that, because my stance is that wrong is wrong. That it comes up slightly a bit more murky when you're talking 16, 17-year-olds, because now the statutory age, it is consensual. Yeah, and that could be a 16-year-old with a 40-year-old lad who wants to know why. But what my thing of it is that even if we pull aside the two, yeah, when you're talking about the 15-year-old with the teacher, right, to me is as wrong, because the paedophile, because the whole thing is around power, isn't it? I mean, maybe when the young boy or girl is older, there might be some sexual gratification there, but it's predominantly about the abuse of power, regardless of. So I go back to the kind of the statement that you made in terms of that we're using the morality of today, and some would argue we are less moral in 2013 than we were, say, in the 60s or 70s.
In some sense, yes, but prosecuting people who cause offence in the sexual nature, I think now we hold tight against rape or an indecent assault much more than we did in the 60s. And how old were some of these people in the 60s? Were they?
Is it relevant? They were in positions of power, and that is a point I always go back to.
Positions of power. Sometimes you elect to be in a position of power, and sometimes your talent, people put that position of power to you, and you're just a talented person, a singer or whatnot, and people say, well, you're a role model, and you didn't actually take on that role.
No, I absolutely agree, but the fact that